welcome to Chuck's Diecast Car and Model Reviews. Today we're going to be taking a look at this particular model. This is the Ferrari 288 GTO. This particular model, as you can see here, is made by Bburago and is in 1/18 scale. For those of you who don't know much about the Ferrari 288 GTO, it is sort of the granddaddy of all the limited edition sort of supercar Ferraris that you have seen over the last 30 or so years, you know, like the F40, the F50, the Enzo, and the LaFerrari. This car was built in the mid-80s and was supposedly going to be built to compete in the what's called the Group B rally competition back in that day. So was the Porsche 959, but the series got canceled due to it, well, basically killing people before either this car or the 959 could compete in that category. The 288 GTO is actually the rarest of all of the limited edition cars I just discussed. They made only about, I think, about 270 or 280 of these, and basically it was just built to sort of homologate it to use in racing, but as far as I know, it never raced. This livery on here, I've been looking for it online to see if this is actually a real livery, and I was even looking for any race results for this car, and I never found any real race results in terms of big racing that this car took part in either. So I'm not even sure if that this is an actual true racing livery for this car. Now the 288 GTO, as you can see, is sort of based appearance-wise on the Ferrari 308. It's like a 308 on steroids, and I think it is much a better-looking car for it as a result. I've always thought the 308 is a little bit delicate-looking and needed to look a little bit more tough, and I think they accomplished it here with the 288 GTO. Its designation is because it has a 2.8 liter engine in it, and it has actually a 2.8 liter turbocharged V8 in it, which is rather unusual for Ferrari. It wasn't until recently that they actually got into turbocharged cars other than this car, so this may actually be the first production turbo car that Ferrari made. But it had about 450 horsepower, top speed of close to 200 miles an hour. The body itself is made of a mixture of Kevlar, aluminum, and I believe even some carbon fiber, but not as much as, of course, later supercars did, because this was built in the mid-80s. It is a really cool looking car, and well, what we'll do here is let's go ahead and take a look at the model itself here, okay? Alright, taking a look at the side here, of course you can see that Ferrari 308 influence with the side intake. However, the side intake does not actually have an intake. You can see here that it actually has these 3 slots behind the wheels, which are sort of a nod to the original Ferrari 250 GTO from the early 1960s. The decals, as you can see here, are all one decal, and as a result they bleed over and cover various parts of the model, like this body line here. The door, I guess that would be the lock assembly there, is covered by decal as well. You can see here that even on the front, the venting here is covered by decal as well, so not exactly the best job here on that. In fact, you can see here that it actually goes over the openings for the front trunk as well, and I actually had to cut these to be able to open the front trunk there too. I mean, I got this model well over 20 years ago, so you know, they didn't really have much competition in terms of you know, other car model, you know, die-cast companies here. So, and for the price point, I guess, you know, you can say it is okay. I mean, the front here is actually fairly decent. You can see the front driving lights detail is pretty good, and that is an actual grill with an oil cooler or radiator behind it, so that's pretty neat to see on a model of this price point. And well, let's go ahead and open up the front trunk here. You'll see that it does include the spare and even a little strap for the spare, you know, the reservoirs and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, good for them to put that detail in there as well. By the way, this does have, you know, the 5-spoke wheels here that were sort of a Ferrari thing back in the 80s. They are chromed in this particular case, but they're actually not really chrome in real life. I've seen several of these over the years, and this is actually just more of a silver paint. And if you look here, you'll see here that those are Speedline wheels, and the car has Brembo calipers and Champion spark plugs. So there you go. All right, so taking a look at the rear here, I think this is a beautiful classic tail end for a Ferrari, you know, with the twin circular tail lights, the GTO badging on the back, the quad exhaust. Looking underneath here, you can see the differential and rear of the transmission and all that sort of good stuff. So that is, you know, nicely done there too. Looking at the underside, of course, you can see that this is a mid-engine car. Everything is chrome under here, which of course is not really correct, but nice of them to include all that detail there as well. You can see here that the vehicle actually has a tubular space frame chassis, which is pretty interesting as well, given the vintage of the car. You know, most cars, race cars, had, you know, like a monocoque chassis by this point. Taking a look at the engine here, there's the engine. It's mounted well up front here, as you can see, and you can see the twin intercoolers in there as well, the exhaust, all that sort of stuff. And I do kind of like how the engine cover hinges at the rear, which looks neat, but I bet really made a lot of mechanics angry. So, because that makes it kind of a pain to get to the engine. Taking a look at the interior, the interior is actually pretty nicely detailed. You can see here that it does have, you know, the nice Ferrari badge on the center of the steering wheel. You can see the decal for the gauge cluster as well as the center console. The gated manual shifter is there as well, you can see. And the center console looks pretty good there too. The seat itself, you can see that it has what are called the Daytona style seats there with the perforations and all that sort of stuff. It almost looks like it's flocked, but it's just a nice texture that comes close to simulating flocking. And if you look on this side, you'll see the GTO badging on the dash. And again, this is a pretty decent model for a model that I probably paid 10 or 12 bucks for back 20 years ago. So that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this review. And if you did, of course, please go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel. Have a great day.